Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ask Mary Pat. This is our February 2025 question of the month. First of all, we have to do our disclosure, which states that I am not a veterinarian. Okay, nothing in this video or any of our other videos can be used in exchange for veterinary advice. Okay, always, 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 anytime you have any questions about your dog, please take them to the vet. I am not a veterinarian, and nothing in these videos is to be used in substitution for veterinary advice. Veterinary advice. Okay, now that I can maybe speak for the rest of the time. Our question this month deals with senior dogs. It was kind of interesting. I actually had a couple other questions that I was going to combine about younger dogs, but this one came out and I thought, senior dogs, let's talk about it. Okay, so, and where did my question go? Wow, that's kind of interesting. Hang on. I don't want to have to start this all over again. Here it is. Okay. So the question was, what are some conditioning exercises I can do to help my senior lab, 14 and a half years old, who is losing muscle mass in her rear end? I don't want to push her too hard or make her feel sore. Okay, number one, thank you for asking the question and particularly for saying I don't want to push her too hard or to make her sore, because no, you really don't. I mean, we don't want to do that, particularly with our 14 and a half year old dogs or any of our senior dogs, because we'll talk a little bit about the fact that senior dog covers kind of a wide range of ages here. So we will talk about that. I definitely have some ideas and thoughts on this, and I wanted to go and hit up more of an expert on this. So I went to Dr. Erica Bowling, and she is the CEO for Northeast. Ah, I'm not going to redo this. I'm just going to try and speak. Northeast Canine Conditioning in the Northeast. And also, she has within that her Northeast Canine Academy. I am enrolled in a couple programs there. I highly recommend them. She is a retired associate professor at Rutgers. Her PhD is in education. She is certified in various canine conditionings. She's also certified in canine massage, and I believe she's a certified personal trainer for people as well. So lots of experience here. Okay, so some of this is with kind of a mix of the two of us and certain particular things that I really like that Erica shared. I will put that out. Um, okay, so the question is about a senior dog, 14 and a half year old lab, hind end conditioning exercises that you can do. Can't really answer that. So, but hang on, hang on. Um, kind of mixed. Yes, I can to some degree because I know this dog and I know this dog very, very well. If someone who I didn't know asked me this question, I'd say, that's way too general a question. And a lot of that is because of the range in senior dogs, number one, and where is your dog at this moment in time? Because the older they get, as we all know, how they're feeling can change not just week to week and day to day, but moment to moment, right? So your, I guess they say senior dogs in many venues are considered 7 and above. Um, an 8 or 9 year old Newfoundland or Great Pyrenees Mastiff, larger Mastiff, is not going to be the same as your 8 and 9 year old Border Collie or your Jack Russell Terrier, number one. Now, in this case, the question specifically said labs. Okay, we know that. But let's look at labs. I mean, even within Labradors, a lot of 14 and a half year old Labradors aren't doing nearly as much as what I know this dog is doing. Okay. Maybe they're just having trouble standing up at all. Um, I had two husky mixes a long time ago, and they were litter mates. And one of them lived to be just over 13 years old, and the other one was 16 and a half when she passed. So if I look at 13 years old on the one, or even 12 and a half on the one, she was losing her hind end. She had biomechanical issues and physiological issues that the other one did not have. So 12 and a half for that one dog was 12 and a half for the other dog. We were still cross country running for miles and miles and miles. So it can really vary. And as some dogs at 14 and a half are going to have trouble standing up. Erica pointed out that her last dog at 14 years old could barely stand. Okay. So functional movements were his exercise. Okay. My 14-year-old husky, or my husky mix at 14-year-old, or actually just a little past 14 after she had her emergency LARPAR surgery, I could do all sorts of exercises with her because once she got the LARPAR fixed, and it did make a big difference, when she got that fixed, it was just amazing what she could do. She went back to doing almost everything she could do prior to that emergency situation. Um, so Erica also pointed out that sled dogs, there we go. Sled dogs at 14 years old, many of them are chasing teams. They're not pulling, but they're chasing the teams for miles and miles. So it really, really can vary. So you can't, in general, you can't just say this 14 and a half year old dog. I'd want to know a lot more breed. If you don't know breed, what size, what condition is this dog doing? What is the dog doing now? What is the dog struggling with? What is the dog not struggling with? There are so many considerations here, and we're going to talk about some of those considerations, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this. But the bottom line is you have to know your dog. And the person, if you're going to go to someone for help, that person has to know what questions to ask. Okay. Because this is really, really critical, because you don't, as this person says, I don't want to make my dog sore. I don't. Okay. And you don't want to mess up your 14 and a half year old dog. You're trying to help them. First, do no harm. Okay. So as Erica states, when I asked her this question, she says, for a dog that age, I cannot say, do this exercise, because what is proper for one dog can be completely inappropriate for another dog, especially at that age, for the reasons we just said. Okay. So this goes back to, where is your dog? That's what you have to look at. And you've got to really know your dog. And this is also a little plug for conditioning your dog and training your dog prior to them getting to this age, which I know this person has done. But for anybody out there who's not, this is your plug. Because if you want to help your dog when your dog is older, you can help them with certain exercises. Um, but it's a whole lot easier to do that if you've been doing some level of conditioning training for them all along, not just from a physiological standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. You don't want to stress out your older dog because they have no clue as to what you're trying to teach them. It's too much stress. It's too much on the mind, right? Whereas if you've done some conditioning and they know some basic stuff, and you go up to them at 14 and a half years old, and you have your cookie or whatever, and you go, remember this? We're going to do this. And they go, yippee, they know this. So it's really a plug to do this before they're 14 and a half. Okay. Get started now, please. Like I said, a senior dog can range from everything from 7 to 16. Sometimes they're 17. So what is your dog doing or not doing? If they are much more advanced in their age and in their conditioning, as Erica states, a lot of times it's just functional movement. That's what you're going to be doing. Okay. Sometimes for some dogs, it's just standing up, and then it's standing up and holding their balance. Okay. Those are strengthening, standing, going from a sit to a stand. Some of us who have younger dogs, or we have athlete dogs, and we do squats with their front feet elevated, and they sit and stand and sit to stand. For your much senior dog, just sitting and getting back up is hind end strengthening. Okay. Just going up the few steps to your house is hind end strengthening. If they're having a good day and you're taking them for the walk and they're pulling a little bit on the leash and they're feeling pretty good, they go up that hill, hind end strengthening. But it's day-to-day activities that you are doing for your much senior dog. Now, maybe if your dog is not as senior, or they are the same age, but they're just not aged the same at the same age, biological age, I would guess. Chronological. Yeah, chronological is let's say they're both 14 and a half, but biologically one could be younger, okay? Because of any number of factors, which can be size, breed, previous activity, any pathological issues, any biomechanical issues, any injuries and things like that. All of these things can affect supplements, diet, all of these things can affect how they age. Okay. So if you have that, you know where your dog is. That's what you need to understand. That younger dog, younger in biological age, um, could get their feet up and maybe do some squats. Or maybe they can go for a half-mile walk to begin with and then work it up to a mile. Um, and again, you better know your dog. Erica pointed out, and I've seen this with my own dog, who's not, well, I guess she's 9 now, so I guess that is a senior dog. But even when she was younger, she's a front leg tripaw. Okay, we'd start hiking and she's gung ho and she gets out 2 miles and I go, we still got to make it back 2 miles, right? So pay attention to these things. Remember, know how your dog is not going to necessarily monitor themselves. Okay, so you have to monitor your dog and you got to know where they start. Then you'll know how much you can increase, right? So those are some of the things that you've got to know about your dog. You got to know their limitations for this. You really do. And if you don't think you know them, find out, but do it gradually. Okay. These are just some general considerations for what you can do. Um, you have to do what is appropriate for that dog at that moment in time. So that's why we can't actually say, do these exercises. Okay. But I can say there are strengthening exercises that you can do. You can work on their balance. You can work on their proprioception. You can work on their range of motion. You can work on their flexibility. But I'm not going to be able to tell you all of these things specifically for each exercise. Okay. Which brings us back to you got to go get someone who knows what they're doing for your dog. For a senior dog in particular, I highly recommend that number one, that dog, especially if they're really senior in how their body is going and how their mind is going, have them checked out by the vet before you go off and do some conditioning program, no matter how light. Get yourself a conditioning coach. Get yourself a certified rehabilitation practitioner for canines. Um, get the guidance. Not that you don't know what to do for your dog. And many of you have been down this path before. So maybe if your dog isn't quite so advanced and stuff, I still recommend getting them checked out by the vet. But you may have been down this road enough that based on a previous dog and knowing your your newest elder, how they are, you got a pretty good idea of some of the stuff that you can do. But that's what conditioning coaches, rehabilitation practitioners are out there to help you do this. Um, Many of them can do them on Zoom these days. Maybe you come in for one appointment and then you get a bunch of exercises and then you review them on Zoom. That's one option. Um, one of the best things you can do is videotape your dog. Okay, just as a matter of fact, this person, I said, yeah, I can help you out because I know this dog. But I still asked for some recent videos because I don't see her much in the wintertime. Um, this person lives a little bit farther away, and I tend to see her at agility trials and duck diving events. And she'll bring the elder dog along. I get to see her and work on her, so I have a pretty good idea of where she is. I still asked her for recent videos. And I got a bunch. Good for her. But take the time to video your dog. Um, and that way you also have when they're good. And so you have a little baseline. And then if they seem not quite so good, take a little video. You can go back to your rehab person, your conditioning coach, and even for yourself, now you have some guidance as to what's shifted a bit. Okay. So when you're doing stuff, just a couple things. Footing with senior dogs, not just for conditioning, but for day to day. Okay. Um, I don't do any exercises on floor. Please, please, please don't. Just don't. And if you have a senior, you probably shouldn't have much floor. Okay. I have hardwood floors all throughout my new home, and they're covered almost completely with various throw rugs, and nice area rugs. Okay. Not so much because Tara is 9 years old, but because Tara's a tripod. Okay. She slips and that front leg goes out. Okay. Um, so when you are doing stuff, flooring, footing, key. key. Make sure they have secure footing in whatever they're doing. Okay, number one. To help your dog truly knowing where they are, you got to know to watch for fatigue. Now, there's a lot of signs for fatigue, okay? And there are, one of the things I found actually on Spirit Dog Training, they had a really cool thing where they just laid it out, and I liked how they laid it out. So you have physical fatigue. The body is tired, okay? You can see that with form loss if they're doing some exercises, gait really if they're out, if your exercise is out walking or running a little bit, depending on where your dog is, they start to really slow down. Their gait changes. They were trotting at the beginning, now they're pacing. They go to a walk. They start sniffing a lot more and they take a little bit more time to go forward. Well, that's probably past your 50, 50-yard mark. That's a maybe you should have turned around a little bit earlier. These are the things to watch for. Limbs shaking, lying down, not wanting to do the exercise, fatigue. Okay. Some of that can also be the next one, which is mental fatigue. Mental fatigue, being mentally tired, means it's too much info. We've all seen what our younger dogs can do, and they lose their brains and they start to go off sniffing and they do this and they do that. They bark at us, all sorts of things. Um, we can push that a little bit if we know how, but with the elders, you gotta know your dog. Is there an issue with any cognitive decline? You don't want to push their mental stimulation to the point where they're becoming upset. You just don't want that with your older dog. So pay attention to those signs. And the other one is emotional fatigue. Okay. It's not mental fatigue is too much info. Emotional fatigue is too much stimulation. Again, pay attention, particularly with your elder dog. Too much stimulation is not necessarily a good thing. Okay. And one of the looking for signs of fatigue afterwards, excessive drinking is one, excessive sleeping. You have new soreness, you have worsening soreness. They're not as engaged. Their gait for the next day or two is also not what their normal gait is. It's too much. Okay. Those are just some things, some general guidelines on what you can do. With your senior dog. And I'd like to just re-emphasize, get some help. Get some help. And your help should also know what to do. Like I said, and the biggest thing is, are they going to ask you the right questions? Are they going to ask about the home environment, their outdoor environment, day to day? What do they do? What are their current physiological issues? Any internal issues, any cognitive decline, hearing, eyesight, all of these things, get some videos, unless you're going to meet in person, and that person probably should video. So these are the things you want to look for when you are looking for someone to help you out with this. So anyways, that's pretty much it. I hope that was helpful. Again, I really appreciate you taking a few moments and learning a little bit more, hopefully, on senior dogs and conditioning. Yes, I'm happy to help you out. I highly recommend checking out Erica Bowling's Northeast Canine Academy, Northeast Canine Conditioning, and their Northeast Canine Academy. She's starting, I think it's open now. It's a new free class. It's geared toward keeping your working dog working based on conditioning, but I will tell you that every time I go to a conditioning thing, whether it's for a working dog, sport dog, younger dog, or whatever, I figure out things, I hear things that are pertinent to my elder dog. So go check out Erica's Northeast Canine Conditioning, Canine Academy. And if you have a question for me, what am I at? Okay, Blue Moon Wellness, okay, Blue Moon Wellness at yahoo.com, or you can phone or text me. Wow, I'm having trouble with this time. 540-660-4367. You can also go to the website, Blue Moon Wellness VA, as in Virginia, bluemoonwellnessva.com, and you can submit something there as well. All right, I hope everyone is making it through their winter and looking forward to a little bit of spring coming soon and a little bit more daylight. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day or evening. Take care.